All right, let me just settle myself for a second because this one has been sitting heavy on my heart. You know, every now and then something comes along in your life that just stops you in your tracks. I am talking about something that makes you look at yourself, look at your habits, look at what you call certainty, and you realize, man, maybe I do not know as much as I thought I did. And that is exactly what happened to me the day people started asking, hey, did you become Muslim? I remember hearing that the first time and just staring for a second. I laughed at first, honestly. Not a disrespectful laugh, just one of those surprise laughs. But then something inside me paused, because the truth is the reason folks even asked that question was because of something I saw, something that touched me so deep that it changed the way I looked at spirituality, discipline, and devotion altogether. And let me tell you, it is a strange feeling when people assume something about you, but the reason they assumed it is because your heart got moved. Man, that hit me. So let me walk you through it in my own words, because I want you to understand exactly what I experienced. I remember the moment clear as day, not because it was dramatic or fancy, but because of how simple and pure it was. I was watching a group of Muslims pray. Nothing more, nothing less. No big event, no grand speech, just people praying. And the thing that got me was not the motions. It was not the sound. It was not the setting. It was the stillness. You do not see that kind of stillness every day. I do not mean quiet. I mean stillness. That kind of stillness where you feel something even though nobody is talking to you. That kind of stillness that makes you look at your own life and wonder, when was the last time I stopped like that? When was the last time I bowed down with that kind of humility? Man, that shook me. I stood there watching, feeling like I had walked in on something sacred, not secret, sacred, something real, something ancient, something rooted so deep in people's hearts that it carried its own gravity. And you know what surprised me? Nobody was showing off. Nobody was doing it for a camera. Nobody cared who was watching. It was devotion for the sake of devotion. And right there, I remember thinking, there is something here that I need to understand. I did not grow up knowing much about Islam. I knew little pieces here and there, the stuff everybody hears but never looks too deeply into. And like a lot of people, I carried some assumptions, not because I wanted to, just because the world throws things at you and you take them at face value if you are not careful. But standing there watching those folks pray, man, I felt something I was not expecting. Respect, deep, quiet respect. And it made me start asking questions, not out loud, inside myself. Questions like, what does it take to be that disciplined? What does it take to humble yourself like that 5 times a day? What does it take to keep your ego in check like that? What does it take to bow your head and say, God, I am nothing without you? Because let me tell you something, that is not easy. We walk around acting like we are in control, like we run our lives. We brag, we post, we show off, we compare, we complain. And half the time we cannot even sit alone with our own thoughts without reaching for a distraction. But what I saw in those prayers, that was not distraction, that was surrender. And I felt that. So when people started saying, did you become Muslim? I understood why they asked. Because anytime someone sees your heart soften, anytime someone sees your tone change, anytime someone sees you speak about something with awe instead of arrogance, people start to wonder. But I want to be honest with you, and I mean brutally honest. I did not feel converted. I felt woken up. And let me tell you something. Waking up is harder than converting, because waking up means you have to deal with yourself. Waking up means you have to admit that maybe you were walking around blind to some truth that was right in front of you the whole time. And that is what Islam did for me. Not as a label, not as a title, but as a reflection. It made me look at discipline different. It made me look at gratitude different. It made me look at humility different. I remember sitting alone later that night thinking about what I saw. And I told myself, man, you spend so much time chasing things, worrying about things, stressing over things. But look at these people. Look at the peace on their faces. Look at the focus. Look at the calm. Do you know how rare calm is in this world? And here they were, dropping everything 5 times a day just to stand in front of God for a few minutes. That touched me, Because I started thinking about how many times I told myself I was too busy to pray, too busy to be grateful, too busy to slow down, too busy to look up and say, thank you. And then I see people pausing their whole lives, stepping away from money, work, stress, the world to connect back to their Creator. Man, that taught me something. It taught me that faith is not about convenience. Faith is about commitment. Faith is about showing up. Faith is about humbling your heart, even on the days you feel strong. And then I started learning more, not because someone pushed me, not because someone preached at me, but because something in my spirit said, go understand this. And that is when I came across something that hit me like a punch straight to the chest. The idea that in Islam, your life is not about ego. Your life is not about being the biggest, the loudest, the richest. Your life is about remembering where you came from and where you are going. That grabbed me. I had spent so much of my life trying to build myself up, be strong, be successful, be respected, and there is nothing wrong with that. But somewhere along the way, you forget the simplest truth. You are not the one in control. And Islam reminds you of that so clearly. Every bow, every prostration, every time a person puts their forehead to the ground, they are saying, God, you are higher than me. You are above me. You are greater than me. That kind of humility, that is powerful. It made me reflect on all the times I let pride make my decisions, all the times I tried to handle everything by myself, all the times I felt frustrated because I wanted life to follow my plan, and I started realizing maybe the peace I have been chasing is not hiding behind success or money or achievements. Maybe the peace is hiding behind surrender, behind letting go, behind admitting that I do not have to carry the whole world on my shoulders. Hey, let me tell you something. When you watch a person lower their head to the floor and ask God for guidance, it makes you look at your own life and say, man, when was the last time I asked for guidance like that? When was the last time I admitted I needed help? I think a lot of us forget that needing help does not make you weak. It makes you human, and Islam honors that. I learned that the prayer itself, the movements, were designed to humble you. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated. Just a human being standing, bowing, kneeling, face to the ground. It strips you of that I am untouchable attitude. It brings you back to the truth. You came from the ground and you will return to it. That shook me, not in a scary way, in a grounding way. And then came another moment, the one that really made people start whispering that question. Someone asked me, do you feel connected to Islam? And without thinking, I said, I feel connected to the values. That is when the rumors started. But honestly, I did not feel offended. Because if someone looks at your life and sees you becoming more humble, more grateful, more respectful, more spiritually awake, and their first thought is, oh, he must be Muslim now. That says something beautiful about Islam. It says that humility is recognized, gratitude is recognized, discipline is recognized, kindness is recognized, reflection is recognized. And if people see those things in you and immediately associate them with Islam, that is a compliment to the faith. So no, I did not shock fans by declaring anything. I did not wake up and announce a conversion. What happened was quieter than that. What happened was internal. What happened was personal. I saw something real, and it made my heart softer, made my spirit calmer, made my mind more open. And honestly, I think a lot of us go through life waiting for some big dramatic sign to change, to reflect, to grow. But sometimes growth comes from something as simple as watching someone pray with sincerity. I started seeing the world differently. I started seeing my blessings differently. I started seeing my problems differently, not because they went away, but because my heart started understanding that maybe everything does not have to be solved by force. Maybe some things are solved by surrender. Maybe peace comes when you stop trying to control everything and just let God handle what you cannot. The more I learned about Islam, the more I felt this quiet respect growing inside me. Not the loud kind that tries to prove a point, the calm kind that sits in your chest and whispers, there is truth here. And let me tell you something, truth does not need a microphone. Truth does not need a commercial. Truth does not need a spotlight. Truth just needs a heart that is ready to hear it. So if you are asking me, did you become Muslim? Let me answer it plain and simple. What I became is humbled. What I became is reflective. What I became is grateful in a way I was not before. What I became is aware of a faith I did not understand until recently. What I became is someone who respects Islam with my whole heart. And if that looks like change to you, it is because it is. But it is not a label change. It is a heart change. And sometimes that is the kind that matters the most. I am still learning. I am still growing. I am still figuring out what faith looks like in my own life. But I will tell you the truth. Islam has given me lessons I did not know I needed. Lessons about patience, lessons about discipline, lessons about service, lessons about letting go. And the biggest lesson of all, you are closest to God when your head is on the ground, not when it is held high. That one hit me deep. So no matter what people say, no matter what rumors float around, no matter what assumptions get made, I know what happened in my heart. I know what I saw. I know what it stirred in me. And I know the respect I carry now for a faith that taught me humility in the purest way. In the end, I think that is what faith is supposed to do. It is supposed to soften you. It is supposed to guide you. It is supposed to make you a little more aware of your blessings and a lot less obsessed with your ego. So if you take anything from my experience, let it be this. Sometimes God sends you a moment, a simple moment, a quiet moment, a moment where you witness something so sincere that it shakes your soul a little, just enough to make you think, I need to grow from this. And that moment for me was watching Muslims pray. I walked away different, not because someone convinced me, not because someone pressured me, but because truth, real truth, does not force itself. It just sits there patiently until you are ready to recognize it. And I recognized it that day. So whether I shocked anybody or not, that part does not matter. What matters is the way that moment changed me from the inside. And honestly, I am grateful it did. That is the truth.